Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. This is a show all about farmers markets. Whether you're a new or experienced farmers market manager, farmer, or a food producer selling at farmers markets, this is the podcast for you. Hi, I'm one of your hosts, Bridget Myers. I have spent many years as an on-site farmers market manager, and I have done it all from pulling permits to social media marketing. And I also help coordinate Intense, the farmers market conference.
And I'm Kat Fields White, also an active farmers market manager here in Southern California, director of San Diego markets, doing all the things market managers do, popping tents, hauling barricades, and curating farmers markets. And I'm the founder of the Farmers Market Pros, providing education and an annual conference for farmers market participants.
And welcome back to Tent Talk. On today's episode of Tent Talk, we're talking with Emily Lawrence, Marketing and Communications Coordinator for Farmers Markets of Nova Scotia, a nonprofit cooperative of over 30 farmers markets. 30. Emily has created resources on social media marketing and photography and does consultations with local farmers markets to help them build their audiences, create a vibrant online presence, and promote their vendors and products. With an affinity for the visual, swift language of social media, Emily loves working with market managers, farmers, and vendors to help them manage their social media platforms effectively. Awesome.
Hi, Emily.
Hi, Emily.
Hi. I'm
Hi.
so happy to be here.
Oh, so happy to have you all the way from Nova Scotia. Are we pronouncing that right? I feel like...
Nova Scotia?
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Sounds pretty straightforward.
Okay, so
Good.
there have you have been.
Yeah, good.
No, we have not. I've not been to Nova Scotia.
I have not been to Nova Scotia either. Bridget, geographically challenged just slightly sometimes. Do you know that Nova Scotia is part of Canada?
Oh, now I do.
We're on the East Coast,
Right,
so we got that East Coast hospitality.
Excellent.
Love it.
They're
Love
close
it.
to the water, so they're not as cold as Toronto.
Oh, okay. I can dig it. I'm
We're- Yeah, right on the ocean. It's beautiful here.
not a fan of the cold, so I should head over there.
And how long have you been working for Farmers Markets of Nova Scotia?
I've been in the position for 1 year.
Oh, okay, so not for a terribly long time.
Not a super long time. No, but I've been I'm obsessed with my job here.
Good.
So I've been really into it, really just researching and studying absolutely everything I can, and just owning it as much as I can.
Like the researching. That's a good thing.
Yeah, love to research.
And I know Bridget went, oh, when we said 30 markets, but your organization doesn't manage markets, right? You provide a support system for markets?
Exactly. We do support, advocacy. We have discounts and an insurance program for them. We do market manager training. We create and find all sorts of resources for market managers and vendors as well.
That's great. Yeah, that sounds like a really valuable service. How many members do you have?
We have 31.
Excellent. And they pay an annual fee based on the size, is that correct?
Based on the size, the number of vendors that they have, and the number of weeks that they're open, because our markets here in Nova Scotia have a huge variety. So we really just try and find a fee that works for them.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's what I thought. So do you mostly see larger markets, smaller markets as far as your membership?
Yeah, I would say most of our membership are seasonal markets. So they would be open from spring to Thanksgiving. Our smallest market is open 2 months of the year with less than 10 vendors. And our biggest market is open 7 days a week, year round, with 250 vendors. So huge variety.
Wow, run the gamut. 250, that's a lot of vendors.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a big building. It's a big, beautiful space right on the
Oh,
water.
so it's in a building. Nice. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about you. So where were you? You've been there for a year. Where were you before that? Do you have a farming or food background, or how did you gravitate into the farmers market world?
Yeah, so I think with a lot of people in the farmers market world, I do have pretty strong roots in food. So I grew up working in my parents' artisan bakery in Cobourg, Ontario. And yeah, I remember, getting up at 4 a.m. and driving to the bakery and napping on the floor there until school started, and basically had a light dusting of flour on my clothes my whole life.
and tell the truth. Bridget wants to ask this one. When you were short-staffed at the bakery, did they have you call out of school that day?
It happened once or twice.
I grew up in a restaurant family, so same thing.
Yeah, same exact thing. Just yeah, they're always there. You're lugging there too. And the bakery was right beside the local farmers market in Coburg. So I was really a part of this vibrant local food scene like my whole childhood. And the connection between food and community was like really ingrained in me quite young. And so I moved to Nova Scotia to go to art school here about 8 years ago. And that's when I started working with arts organizations, and I worked with the PEI Crafts Council, where I did a lot of one-on-one work with the artisans there, which I really love doing and helping people with their small businesses. And I learned that you can be like the most skilled craftsperson in the world and just ooze creativity and like knit in your sleep, but you might not be able to take a good photo of your work. And you might not be able to really have the energy to think about how to promote your products or create marketing materials. So later on, when I saw this job posting with the farmers markets of Nova Scotia, I was like, oh, I can promote craft and food and also get paid for that. Like, what is this? Yeah, it was just it's a really great position for me, and like all of my interests just combined really nicely into one spot.
That's great. So yeah, it sounds like you're the perfect person to be helping them with social media and marketing and all those good things.
Yeah. So your work does, you work with all the markets, but since they're seasonal, what does your work look like on the off season? Like you have a year-round market, but when the other markets are closed during the winter, what is the work of your association during those off months? Like what kind of prep work are you guys doing?
Yeah, so about 9 of our markets are year round. So all year round, we're trying to promote them the best we can, and trying to remind people that there are markets that are open, and yes, there are still vegetables that you can get. Yeah, but during the off season, it's a lot of finding and putting out resources, doing all the market manager training, and helping them generate ideas for growth, lots of education. That's where we really push out our resources and say, you know, we're here for all of these things. Like, let us help you grow now that you're not so busy. Like, now's the time to do it.
Nice. So what does that typical workday look like for you? Are you like on site at markets on a rotating basis, or are you kind of sending information to everybody at once? What does your position look like?
I unfortunately spend all day on the computer.
Ah.
Yeah, we don't really have the resources to get me or anyone else around the province all the time to be seeing what's happening. So we really focus on like using our social media channels to promote them the best that we can. So yeah, for me, I do all of our social media scheduling. It's quite heavy. We like to have a really vibrant online presence and make sure that we're doing everything we can to help people get out and shop at the farmers markets in the province. And I also have a lot of other side projects. So this summer I was doing social media consultations with our market managers and a bunch of our vendors as well. And I've been working on a video all about how to take better photography with your smartphone. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of media relations as well. So trying to get our vendors some press opportunities and some opportunities for exposure for their business.
Nice. So are you teaching, so where are you getting your photographs if you're not going on site? Do you like dispatch photographers, or are you training them to take photos and they're sending them to you so you can post?
Yeah, that's why we're really big on sort of helping everyone become the best photographer they can be, so that their market pages are really well populated, and then we can borrow from that as well and then populate our pages with that. And yeah, we also do a lot of, like, I'm a market shopper, I'm there every week. I can post all the apples I want, and those will be the apples available. You know, all apples look a little bit the same. So we can promote all of our markets that way as well.
Nice. Yeah, I'm always trying to kind of teach our vendors and farmers, like, hey, post some nice pictures that then can get shared. So it sounds like, because I say if you post a photo that's not very high quality, I'm not going to share it on my page. I'm not going to want to like get that photo out there to my followers. So in order to get the biggest reach, take a nice photo, because then it'll get shared. Like, it's not just for your followers, but it's for other people picking it up and sharing it. So yeah, that's a good tip. Yeah. What platforms are you using, or what do you feel like is currently most valuable for farmers markets?
Yep. So we use and teach other people to use Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Okay.
Those are really the three that we only focus on. I would say more and more Twitter is sort of like taking a backseat on that. I don't know if it's like that everywhere else, but I think that our markets are not really seeing Twitter as a good tool for them right now. And I think that they're able to find or able to reach the whole audience with just the Instagram and the Facebook combined. Do you guys use Twitter?
Yeah. We don't use Twitter much. We should. We used to a long time ago. I personally feel like Twitter's kind of coming back, primarily because of the algorithm limitations on Facebook and Instagram. So I feel like we should be using Twitter more, but I just haven't gotten back into that habit. Where I think Twitter would be really valuable right now is to talk about issues. So talk about the fact that if you shop directly from farmers, they make a lot more money than if you get it somewhere that they've sold to wholesale, that money stays in their pocket, or the effects of the trade war on farmers and that kind of thing, because Twitter tends to be a little bit more newsy. But I know that for a while, Twitter was very Instagram-y and more people were posting photos and things. I think it's shifted back to mostly words. And so it would be more to talk about issues or maybe profiles or something like that, versus Instagram where you sort of follow the event and you get inspired by the photos.
Yeah. We use like Twitter a lot as like for quick tidbits and just like really quick, easy, digestible information, and just to sort of keep people up to date with what's available and what's going on. But yeah, and we did work to build quite a big audience on Twitter. Well, big for Nova Scotia. So we do populate it, but I'm finding that our markets are not really interested in it right now.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm a big social media person, and I think I've only used Twitter once. I do not use Twitter. Yeah. I have a Twitter, but I don't tweet.
You don't tweet.
Never have I tweeted.
Have you Snapchatted? That's what I want to know. Does anybody Snapchat?
I tried to Snapchat once. I was trying to like stalk my teenage daughter on Snapchat, so I was trying to figure out how it works, and I couldn't quite figure it out, and I just never gave it up.
I've never clicked. You're a little younger, Emily. Do you Snapchat?
I use Snapchat when I was like in high school. And then it came back like after celebrities started using it. I don't use it, and it's not something that I help my markets use either.
Yeah.
TikTok? Do people TikTok? I haven't even looked at that.
That creeps me out.
I've heard of it.
I can't do the TikTok. We could do some funny like farmers market songs on TikTok, but
that'd be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we're with the basics. We're with the Insta, we're with the Facebook.
I think those are such valuable tools, though. Like if you do Facebook and Instagram correctly and you have a plan and you are learning as you go, it's just an ever-evolving learning. Those two are learning platforms. So you have to just see what's next and what's coming up. And as things change, adapt and all those things. So Emily, I feel like your service is really probably extremely valuable. Just because when you're farming and vending and running markets, it's hard to keep up on all that stuff. So having a somewhere you can go to learn that and kind of keep up on the trends for the social media is probably really valuable for your members. So it's great that you guys are doing that. What kind of questions do you get from your members about social media, and like, do they have any misconceptions, or what's the feedback that you get when you're doing these trainings and such?
I would say just what everyone that I've spoken to asks me: how to grow their audience. And take better photos. Those are like the top two questions. And people, I think it can be really overwhelming for a lot of people, especially if you're running a small business. You don't have the time or the energy to really learn or figure out all these new platforms. And as you say, like things are always changing and growing so fast. And people seem to think there's like this big secret.
Yeah.
I think I did when I started the role too. Like I've been managing social media for lots of different organizations for years and years and years now, but I sort of came into it and I was like, why do these people have tens of thousands of followers? And it's like, well, actually the secret might be that people are buying those followers. Like just in order to have good, effective social media, all you really need to do is be consistent, have high quality content, and be engaging. So yeah, that's what I like to say about that. In terms of misconceptions, I've had a few people not really understand how hashtags work, and I think they see organizations and other business create their own hashtags. So they think that when they are adding their hashtags to their image, that they all have to be creative and these new hashtags that they're generating on the spot. I'm like, no, it's actually kind of the opposite. Like, research some hashtags, see what other people are using, see what is popular and will give you the most exposure, and use those ones. Don't create your own. Like, create your own if you want to, but don't, like, a list of your own hashtags is not really going to do anything for you other than, like, tucker you out.
Yeah. I have had that conversation with our vendors and farmers as well. Like, they're doing really specific, like, hashtag Rodney Kawano Farm. Well, it's like, people aren't searching that. They're not following that hashtag. So you're not going to pop up in people's feeds by doing that. It's a good way to keep an archive of your own posts.
Right.
That's what I would say use it for, but people aren't searching for that. So find like a neighborhood hashtag that people are following, or something in your industry that people are following, hashtag farmers markets. It's effective.
Yeah, exactly. We do that a lot.
Location based, or like, I find it really nice to go to sort of like the tourist sites and see what they're using. Those are really good hashtags to start using to get your images on those feeds as well for the location. So when like people are visiting, stuff like that.
Oh, good idea. Yeah, we did start using hashtag Visit San Diego, and they push it out. Our tourism authority pushes it out a lot, and then other businesses also use that hashtag, and so that seems to get picked up a lot. I follow it.
Yeah.
So
I think they're busy. One misconception, and when you say that one of the big questions you get, Emily, is that how to grow my following. We just had a social media expert. I don't know if you can see my air quotes, that just approached us and said, I can put up the kind of images and contests and things that'll get you in front of big influencers, like models and yada, yada. I don't know that.
Can you see me with eyes?
Yeah, we're all rolling our eyes. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So the quantity of followers, without qualifying them as, are they good followers? Are they grocery shoppers? Are there somebody close enough to you to come spend money with your farmers? I don't know that sheer quantity is really what we should be after. It's really fun and kind of an ego boost to see, oh, I got 500 likes on this post. But are those just people liking it because it's pretty, because it's a picture of Indian Summer Farm's baby? Because of course everybody's going to like that. But are those likes coming from people that are actually going to come out and spend money with your vendors? That's really seems to me to be more important, to kind of curate your followers actually, so that you get followers that are going to act on what you need them to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I always say a bigger audience isn't always better. Like, the number, you could have the biggest following in the world, and if they aren't even in the right location, they're not going to shop at your business.
Right.
Bigger isn't always better. It's really important to like look at your audience and make sure that you have the right audience, I think. For that exact reason. It's not always going to translate into business or support if you're just looking at the likes and the numbers on social media.
Yeah, I always tell people, like, look at your ROI on your time investment, just because people are like, oh, I'll just do some social media. It's like, well, that takes a lot of time. You have to find the right photo. You have to find the right caption. You have to tag people, like put hashtags. I mean, that is your time. And you think about like your hourly rate, whatever that might be for your business. So how is that photo or that post going to translate into money coming back into your business? Because we're running businesses here. So is that going to translate into shoppers coming? Is that going to translate into vendor recruitment? If you're a market manager, are people going to see this post and say, oh, I want to be part of that market? Because then that translates into money for you, for your business, for your market. Shoppers, is a store going to see this and want to pick up your product and put it into their boutique grocery store, things like that. So just who's your audience when you're posting these things, and who's reacting, and who's communicating with you through social media. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I work with folks, they see, I think Instagram in particular, as like something that they're just going to put energy, or how do I say this? They really see it as like an outlet for their business. And they don't really consider that, no, they need to like maybe put some attention into like finding really good new audience members as well. Like, if you were wondering why you're only sitting at like a few hundred followers, but you only follow 50 people, like, Instagram is like high school for that reason. Like, no one's going to smell at you unless you smell at them first. So maybe you can start to think about like other accounts or other spaces where you could look at and see who's engaging with them and engage with them back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in your work, do you serve mostly farmers market managers, or do you work with individual vendors and farmers too?
We do both. So there is some social media and marketing training with our, market manager training. They do some social media training with that. And we have guides and resources for both. So, stuff for market managers and stuff for vendors as well. And I do the consults with both. So we're open to anyone.
Oh, nice. So what do you think? Do you think that the responsibility of getting the word out and building followings and attracting shoppers, do you think that responsibility lies with market managers or more with the farmers and vendors?
Good question. I think I would say it's the market staff's job to promote the market and to find new ways to get the market some new exposure, and of course give all the market updates that are needed. But I think at the end of the day, the vendors and their products are the reasons that people come back to the market. So I think it helps definitely build that community and that online presence when the vendors are putting in the effort online to engage and grow their audiences as well. So I think I would say it's the market manager's responsibility, but it's a group effort.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. We've been noticing a trend, well, not a trend, but a few people have kind of floated to the top of my awareness lately where they'll say, oh, I'm at this really busy market, but I'm not very busy. And I go back and I look at their social and it's all pictures of their farm, but they never mention that they're at the market. And so we've got a really big, busy market, but you've got to stand out within that market too. So people aren't going to come looking for you, or they're going to walk by and pay attention to somebody else that maybe has a little bit prettier display 2 booths down, unless you're also working it, unless you also have a social media following.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of like the biggest mistakes that I see is vendors not saying in their bio and in the text on their social media pages where they're selling. Especially, I think a lot of our vendors here make most of their income at one particular farmer's market. And if that information isn't like the first thing that I see, then you've probably already lost me as a customer.
Right. That's what I think. I was following this amazing farm, and I follow him because he's cool and his farming techniques are interesting. He's really all about the permaculture, and he has interesting things to say politically. I was following him even though I didn't think he was a market farmer. Come to find out, he's actually at 2 markets a week, but he never mentions it. And somebody else inadvertently mentioned that they were set up next to his booth. I thought, well, really? He's a market farmer? Awesome. And why did I not know this before?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good exercise too for people to do if they feel like their social media is not working. Give your feed to someone else and say, what do you think I do?
Interesting.
I do see, there are, God love them. Like I love supporting all of our vendors, but when I see, an Instagram or a Facebook feed that is, just photos of the farm and maybe some family photos and some photos of their cat, all lovely things that I want to see. And yes, the posts are engaging and it's really great for building those relationships with your customers. But if I don't know what your business is and what you're selling, you're losing people that are just going to stumble upon your account because they don't know what you do and they don't know what you do.
Exactly. We have a big farmer that's at a lot of farmers markets in San Diego County, and they are very consistent about posting every single day which markets they're selling, and they highlight a couple crops that are new or that they have a lot of or that are on sale, and they have a picture of that crop at a market and they tag the market and they say, oh, today's Tuesday, we're at the Pacific Beach Market, we're in Escondido, like tagging the markets. These are the times of the markets. It's Jayar Organics Farm if you want to follow them and check out what is a really great way, because they have a beautiful farm. They have a big family. It's a big family farm. So they post some family photos, and when they have reunions or they have kids out on the farm, they have farm tours. They'll post pictures of people just out there in the fields, but they are really consistent about saying, we're at these farmers markets every day. Come find us. Come buy our new tomatoes. don't forget to stock up on okra before it's out of season. There's a sale on strawberries. It's like you're talking to your shoppers and they are really busy and they're successful. And I really believe it's because their social is really handled really well and they're speaking to their customers and their customers know where to find them.
Yeah, they're giving them that call to action.
Exactly. Yeah. Come see us and buy this. Not like here's a rolling hill of crops at my farm, which is great and pretty, but no one's buying anything from you when you just show them a picture of your fields.
Well, they don't know how.
Yeah.
Unless you tell them, these are really pretty fields. Here's how you get this stuff.
Exactly. So I use that as like kind of a example when I speak to other farmers at our markets as well. So yeah, it's really, it's a good point to make too and say, hey, show your Instagram or your Facebook to somebody else who doesn't know you and say, what do you think I do? What do you think my business does?
Yeah, Emily, that's such a smart tip.
I'm going to use that.
Yeah, it's kind of like Ellie Ball at the conference this year was saying, you need to step out front of your booth, look at it like you're a shopper. And in fact, she said, look at it like you're an 8-year-old shopper. How easy is it to understand what you're selling?
Yep, exactly.
That's a great tip. Too, I don't know who told me this, but I love it, and I think it's so true, is that your branding is what people say behind your back. So it's sort of along the lines of like, shows kind of a stranger, someone that you're not super close to, your feed and see what they have to say, because that's going to be people's first impressions. And this is your business, and this is what you're putting out, and this is what you're putting forward. So pay attention to what people are getting from it.
Exactly. Yeah. See what their impression is. And then if it's not the impression that you are striving for or that is your goal, change it. Just change something that you're doing. Yeah.
Figure out what's not working and figure out how to make it work.
Absolutely.
Smart. Mm-hmm. What do you see as really common mistakes when you say what's not working?
Other
than what we just talked about.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I see people either posting too much or posting not enough.
Right. Frequency.
Often there will be sort of a abandoned Instagram account or an abandoned Twitter account that is not being populated. And my response is always, okay, figure out if you want to keep that. And if you do, like, you got to figure out a way to keep it active, at least, a few posts a month. And if you don't want to put energy into that, it's better to just like let that account go. Like make your way with it, because someone could be trying to reach you from that account and be expecting to get an answer, and they're not going to get it because you're not there. And they could be following it expecting to get updates and expecting to be given information about the market, and they're not going to get it. So if that account's not there, then they'll maybe figure out another way to get you. A way, like if your Facebook page is more populated, they'll follow you on there. But if your Twitter account hasn't been updated in 2 years, then like it's time to let go.
Yeah, just let it go. What's that song from Frozen? Let it go.
Exactly. Sing that song to yourself. And sometimes I see people posting too much, which seems like it could never really be a bad thing, but I think, on Instagram in particular, it's really a visual feed, and we all know that. And if you're posting a lot of text-heavy images or a lot of collages, like several times a day, and you go to your feed, it's just so busy and overwhelming, and you really want to find a way to like pare it down and make it simple and make what you have to say minimalistic in that sense. And, stories is a really great outlet to do all of those quick updates during market day or leading up to market day, to get all of the vendors' information out there and like show people all the wonderful things that are happening. But you don't want to be posting, like 10 posts in that one day, because the algorithm's like not going to like it at all and no one's going to see it. And it just clutters things up, and people might not want to follow a feed that is that active.
Yeah, I use social media personally and for many different businesses and accounts that I operate, and that's the quickest way to get me to unfollow. Even if I enjoy your content and I enjoy your business, if you're spamming the feed, if you are posting one picture after another in a day, it just takes up too much of my time. Yeah. I just don't have time for it. So it's just cluttering it, and like I'll unfollow that. So just be aware of that. I think that's a really good tip to remember. Like, yeah, you have a lot to say and a lot to show, but use that multiple photo function in Instagram. Don't post 5 separate posts. Just load 5 photos into that multiple thing, or use the stories is always a great thing to do. I tell the vendors like, oh, you have a lot to say today. Like make 2 posts on market day, 2 really great posts about something great going on with your business at the market, and then use the stories to say all that other extra stuff.
Yeah, it's perfect for that.
Yeah, it's good to remember.
So you're getting your photos from the market managers and vendors. You're not out on site taking photos, it sounds like. So obviously you've got to give them some guidance. Do you get hundreds of photos in and you just pick the best ones, or are you pretty good at directing your people so that the photos you get are already good?
Well, I take my time to look at their social media feeds, like so that I can get updates on what they're doing, but also and see all the wonderful photos that they're posting. And often I'll just sort of, throughout my weekly maintenance of that, pull some really good ones that I see and then use those to post throughout the week.
Gotcha. So what do you see? What do you suggest to people in terms of the parameters for a good photo, and what do you look for? What kind of photo do you avoid? With us, it's dogs at the market. There's a photo with a dog in it. We generally don't run it or rerun it. Water bottles, plastic water bottles.
I think there's I would say there's sort of 2 styles of photos that we see a lot of. So there's those at market day photos. For that, I really like to see sort of more focused, not on the whole booth in general, but more on one specific product. I find it a lot more pleasing to look at, looks better in a feed, and it's a little bit more enticing just to look at a photo of some beautiful tomatoes than, a big market stand. Because yes, people's market stands are going to be beautiful, but it's a lot of space to try and make it look pleasing, if you know what I mean. And then in terms of like product or individual food photos, definitely I will not post anything with a flash or a zoom. There, 2 things that are absolute no-nos. Never, ever, ever. Always look for nice natural light, sort of a pleasing background, something that doesn't look too cluttered. When I'm consulting with people on how to show them how to take better photos, I really suggest trying to find a setup or 2 that works for you and that you can, go back to whenever you need to take a photo. It'll help your feed look really cohesive and help you develop a little bit of that branding, but it will also be easier for you because you don't have to think of a photo idea every time you need a photo. So if you have, this nice, beautiful wooden table in your home or a nice cutting board, you can just whip those out, find a nice large window, or take it outside and take your images there. You can also get some really nice photo backdrops that I've been recommending for folks, especially for, more artisans or people creating like body care products, soap, that sort of thing. You can get some really nice backdrops online for really not that much money at all. And it helps you save that investment on like that marble slab that you might really like the look of, but don't want to spend that much money on. Those are really great options as well. And sometimes you just need a little bit of editing to help give it a boost. So you could do a lot of those settings in Instagram, but there are lots of great options for photo editing apps on your phone that you can use for free as well.
I'm sort of in love with the shadow setting on the Instagram editing. So taking the shadows out of pictures can make such a huge difference. I mean, if you're not using lighting or anything while you're out at the markets, a lot of times those shadows will kind of muck things up, but using that shadow edit function to take them out can really clean it.
Just those shadows.
Yeah, lift the shadows, especially at the market, because if you're shooting something inside a tent. So I take a lot of photos of the vendors in their tents, and like their bodies will be in the sun and then their face is in the shade of the tent. So I try to balance that out, and it's kind of hard sometimes, but that shadow and highlight editing tool in Instagram itself is really helpful, I found, for outdoor tented photos.
We tell people too to do things like move the cash box and the water bottle and the plastic bags out of the scene.
Absolutely. Yeah. Get rid of all that clutter.
Yeah.
We don't like
it. We don't like that. Not for Instagram.
It can be, you might have a nice backdrop somewhere around the market. You can like just take the products. I like a good photo of like a hand coming in from the side holding some fresh herbs or like something like that. There's lots of different like staging ideas you can do at a market as well if, like the booth isn't looking so great or just like lots of different things to try. I always tell people like just go look on Pinterest, look on Instagram, find some like fun photo ideas that work for you. And once you get a few under like in your tool belt, it'll just be a lot easier.
Yeah, one of our vendors, she sells relish, Celeste's hot but spicy relish. Oh, so sweet.
Oh, so sweet relish.
Yeah, she has a long title of her company name, but it's just a jar of relish, and she only has 3 different items, so it's probably would be really repetitive for her to just post the jar over and over. Every day at the market, she takes the jar and she like lays it in whatever kind of produce is in season. So in like, a little bed of lettuce or carrot tops or next to eggplant or something. So it's just really, it's like, okay, you can get this relish at a farmer's market. And it's very pleasing to the eye. Her photos are always beautiful, and it's still her jar of relish, but the backdrop is the different seasonal produce at the market.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you work a lot with analytics, and how important do you think that is? I think most farmers market folk are either completely baffled by it or just don't have the time. But do you spend much time with the analytics on your Instagram and Facebook accounts?
Yeah, I think that most people have taken a look at it, but when they get to that page, they are just totally overwhelmed and they don't know what to be paying attention to or like what to even do with the information. So I think it's useful to look at it once or twice a year. It doesn't need to be any more than that. And there's sort of 2 areas that I think people could focus on. So the first is the audience. We talked a little bit about this earlier, but having the right audience is really important. For us, I know that a few years ago, we were looking at our audience and saw that it wasn't, I'm not quite sure of the percentage, but we really wanted to grow it in Nova Scotia because it wasn't, the majority of our audience wasn't in Nova Scotia. We had a lot of support elsewhere, which is really great. But in terms of getting people to the markets and shopping, that wasn't going to happen. So if you look at your audience and make sure they're local, make sure they represent who your actual customers are, that's going to make sure that you have the right audience and that you will be able to grow more naturally from there. And the other thing that I tell people to look at is see what posts are performing the best and are the most engaging. This gives people an idea of what's working and what to potentially do more of going forward. And you might see that your recipe posts are doing really, really well, and maybe your posts about vendors are not doing so well. So it's to look at that and see, okay, what can I do differently here? How do I promote what I need to promote and do it well? But also think about all of that other sort of complementary all those complementary posts, like the recipes, the gardening advice, the DIYs, like whatever your audience is into, let that complement what you actually need to be doing, which is promoting the market, promoting the vendors, or promoting your products.
Smart.
Yes, those are the 2 things that I think are the most impactful with analytics, but don't get bogged down by it, because as long as you have that good content and you're doing your best, it'll just grow naturally, and you don't really need to get bogged down by the numbers that much.
That's good. That makes sense. I'm a little baffled lately by the whole Facebook thing. I know they want to sell ads, I'm sure, but how many times a day now do you get a thing that says this post is performing better than your other post? But you look at it and there's, 6 likes out of your 20,000 followers. In what way does Facebook think this is performing better than another post?
It's so strange.
It's so strange.
The Facebook, I just use the Insights tab, but I know that there's like a whole other business manager side of things that is like absolute chaos.
Yeah.
Whenever the last time I went in to go do an ad, it took me like hours to even figure out like what was happening. It's like the upside down there. It's like, it's really not well designed and it's not intuitive.
Yeah,
so
they've really lost me over there.
It's crazy. Yeah, it needs some improvements. So I like to just use the Insights and use those few things to monitor, what's working and what to do going forward.
Nice. Emily, what's that? So if kind of wrapping it, we've gotten a lot of good information here. Great.
I have so many notes.
Yeah,
I usually take notes when we interview people just on whatever they're speaking about, but Like, since I do a lot of social media stuff, I have like a full page and a half of notes right now
That's great.
just from this interview.
Family down to
Well,
the conference.
it's such a
Yeah.
great thing. It's like I've talked to so many other social media managers, and everyone is just sort of like learning as they go and sort of self-taught. And they're like, I try this and it works. And like everyone just has their own tips. I feel like the discussion needs to be way more open. Like we could learn so much more from each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have if you could only give one tip to our listeners to make their social media better, make it more effective for their business, what would that be?
I would say consistency is the most important thing. I'm a huge advocate for creating a posting schedule for yourself and sticking to it.
Wait. After you make that schedule, you're supposed to follow it?
We've made lots of schedules.
That's where I'm going.
Working on following them.
I mean, it can be sort of a loose structure that is just sort of there. I mean, it's a good exercise to go through to create a posting schedule because it makes you look at what posts you need to have and helps you create that balance that you need. But yeah, I think as you're saying, like that vendor who posts, first thing every time they get to a market, getting in those routines and those habits. It doesn't have to be like a perfect schedule that you stick to every time, but I think that's the most important thing. And yeah, it really forces you to study, okay, this is working well. We need to do a vendor highlight, we need to do a recipe, and we need to do a micro reminder every single week. These are things that we need to do. It's just a great way to get you thinking about those types of things.
Mm-hmm. It's great. It's good advice. Oh, so many things to learn. Yep. Well, I feel like we could speak for 3 more hours with you about social media. So hopefully we stay in touch and can keep the conversation going. But we are going to wrap up and move to our question of the week. So in our social media realm here, what's the best post that you've seen on social media lately? And I know all 3 of us follow a lot of different social media accounts and work on social media. So I know we've seen a lot of great ones, but Emily, what do you think is one of the best ones that you've seen on social media that someone else has posted? Farmers market related.
Yeah, I was thinking about this a lot. One of our markets, the Tent Helen Village Farmers Market, they posted this article on their page about Hugel culture, I believe it's pronounced, which means hill garden in German. It's basically like an alternative to a garden plot where you have this hill that saves water and space and gives more sunlight, etc. It's really great. So my partner and I decided to make one in our backyard, but we found that when we were going around to tell people about it and going around to the markets, everyone was like, oh yeah, I saw that online, and oh yeah, I saw that and I'm building one too. It was just like this really wonderful example of that market really just knowing their audience really well. And it was just so odd to see like a Facebook post really penetrate the community that way and create like real life buzz. It was, yeah, I've never seen anything like it.
That's impressive.
That's funny. I'm going to go find that.
Yeah, we follow them on Farmers Market Pros. I love their posts. They're really active.
They have an awesome one. What do you think, Kat? What's a good post that you've seen lately?
Well, the babies are always good. Indian Summers posted a picture of their baby chewing on a beet leaf the other day.
Little farmer babies.
Yep. Dolly Ranch is famous for their baby animal pictures, which actually always confuses me just a little bit. Look at this adorable baby pig. Come eat it.
Yeah.
So,
they're a ranch. They're like, oh, bacon seeds.
Yeah, they call them bacon seeds, a little cute baby piglet. That always kind of baffles me, but it seems to work for them. They get a huge following. They're very busy farmers, so that's good. But we actually reposted a photo from 5th Gen Gardens a couple of weeks ago of the farmer there. She's a young woman. She's adorable, and she had this giant rhubarb. I mean, it was the size of small trees, and it's very pretty. Rhubarb's very pretty and bright and pink, and that was a great post.
Yeah. Just showing like what happens on the farm. This is the real deal. Weird things that happen on the farm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
So pretty.
Yeah. All right. Well, I actually have 2 because I just wanted to, I think we reposted this on our Farmers Market Pros account. I think it was in the stories, but for industry people, this isn't something you'd really post on your page for your customers, but I thought it was so funny. This girl tweeted out and then it got captured and posted on social media, but it was, she posted a picture of her car parked on the street with a bunch of market tents over it and like tables set up around it. Like she left her car in the street and I'm going to substitute the curse word, but she said was being responsible and didn't drive home after happy hour last night. came back to pick up my car and it's in a freaking farmer's market. And about 80 people sent that post to me because I'm constantly complaining about towing cars off the farmer's market. So I posted it on my like professional account is Motherbird Bridget. And I post things like working at the market, like weird things that I find on the street when we're setting the market up and like towing cars and things like that. So it's more like the industry side. But I know some shoppers follow it and they're like, I'll never park my car at a market. But anyways, that was really funny. And I know that got circulated a lot. A lot of people reshared that. So that was just funny. Brought some attention to not parking your car in a farmer's market space. Thank you. But for customers, I follow Union Square Green Market in New York City. Their handle is UNSQ Green Market. They're so funny. They have beautiful pictures. They have a really large following. They do farmers markets year round in New York. And in February every year, for Fashion Week in New York, they do Farmer Fashion Week. And it's so funny. They take pictures of their farmers like posing like as much as a model as a farmer can pose in like their sweaters and like their overalls. And they post it and they hashtag it Farmer Fashion. And they do a whole week and they post like 10 photos and then people can like them and vote for whose farmer fashion is the best. And it's like their boots, like their galoshes and their like garden gloves and their hats. And it's so funny. And I don't know, I just love it. It's so entertaining and people love it. And they have a contest and then that farmer wins like market bucks or something.
That's a great series.
Yeah, it's just really, and then they're also holding like their crops that they're selling. So it's like, tenfold. So it's marketing the market. It's saying what crops are in season. They're posting on market day. So you know when the market's happening. And it's like this fun interactive thing for people that follow them.
Yeah.
So
Get a good calendar idea.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so smart. That's something you can put on your schedule, your posting schedule.
That's right. And then follow it.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today, Emily. I think our listeners probably got a lot out of this, and I hope that everyone, you have a lot to think about. And if you're driving or something, we will post additional information in our newsletter, so you can get that and on our webpage and stuff. So just keep up with us. And this was a really interesting conversation.
It was a great conversation. We should try to get Emily down to the Intense, the Farmers Market Conference in February.
I'm going to try.
I know you'd probably much rather be in Nova Scotia in February than sunny San Diego, but
yeah,
we'll work on that. I'll work on that.
Thank
All right.
you so much for having me.
Thank you, Emily. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks so much for listening today. Please leave us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you find this podcast, and tell us how you liked today's episode. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss the next one. And if you want more farmers market tips, tricks, and information, you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter at farmersmarketpros.com and follow us on Instagram at farmersmarketpros. Watch for upcoming Farmers Market Pros events, both live and online, and take advantage of early bird tickets for the 2020 Intense the Farmers Market Conference right now. Regular price for the 3-day conference is $355, and early bird price is $235. So you save over $100 by planning ahead and getting your ticket right now. Three's Company tickets are an even better deal, so bring a couple friends, and we are looking forward to seeing all of you there. This podcast is produced by the Farmers Market Pros, where passion meets profit. Today's episode was recorded by Adam Samaha and edited by Justine Marzoni Mead. Original music by David Mead.